Yes, we are live. Welcome to ACAB Radio, broadcasting to you live from the Happy Earth Market, and we are presented by Food Not Bombs Las Vegas and NevadaCopBlock.org. You can check out the websites at nvcopblock.org and foodnotbombslasvegas.com. And we are your hosts, King Ron and Jay Leifer. So thank you all for tuning in. One of our hosts is out today, so we might have a bit of a shorter show for you. But we did want to talk to you about the most recent officer-involved shooting that happened.
Absolutely, let's use the right terminology here.
Oh, well, she's in critical condition.
Oh, right.
So.
Well, that's right, yeah.
But she was shot seven
Seven
times. Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about that? I'm going to share this real quick on my page.
No, okay. There was a woman in crisis in a neighborhood in Las Vegas here. She was in distress and had a shovel. And some of her neighbors called because they were concerned, and they had a right to be concerned. You know, they called the police, I assume hoping that they would be able to come and de-escalate the situation and use their crisis intervention training to help this woman and get her safely into a place where she needed to be. The police officers arrived. I guess every police officer is CIT certified. You know, I ask them all the time about the training, that they're all training, and that's crisis intervention team training, right? They come in, they learn how to deal with people in distress.
Mm-hmm.
They tout it out as one of their great programs. All officers certified. They all get training. It's to make a safer community and, you know, a happier life. Unfortunately, it seems that most times if they go out, even with the training, when people are in distress and not really what you would consider like a high threat, the woman had a shovel. She wasn't armed, you know, with a sword or some sort of firearm. They chose, instead of de-escalation and trying to, you know, get a shovel away from, you know, a lady, these brave, fine officers decided to unload on her and shoot her down in the street because, like, they're cowards, and that is how they chose to deal. And it wasn't that the woman wasn't known to be in distress a lot of times. I think they were out there, well, at least over 20 times. They were known to the community. They were known, she was known to the police.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that they came upon something that they never seen before or weren't expecting. I mean, they had dealings. So.
Yeah, I watched the press release that Metro gave, and I also just shared it on the page, so anybody interested can watch that video. It has the body cam video as well. But they stated that this woman had been, you know, the CIT team, the crisis intervention team, had been dispatched to her several times last year, and actually 2 days prior to this shooting, they had been out to a call and spoke with her and were able to de-escalate the situation, which is what they're supposedly trained to do when somebody has a, you know, mental health crisis. You know, these officers get a raise every time they complete this program. It's supposed to be, you know, some tremendous program, but here you have this officer.
Oh, we just lost power. I guess, so we're still on.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Oh, damn it. I don't know what happened.
All right. I'm not sure if we're still.
Hold on.
Facebook Live is still going, so I'll keep talking.
Yeah. Keep talking. Let me do something
so-
quick. You're going to have to edit this together.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what the fuck happened.
All right, technical difficulties.
Please stand by.
So the crisis intervention team was supposed to be dispatched to this call as well. This officer, Officer Wills, another rookie cop who was dispatched, just like the last shooting, you know, 2 rookie cops, inexperienced, and ended up killing somebody. This guy, also a rookie, first on scene, and within a minute shot this, you know, 100-pound woman, tiny woman, 7 times, completely unnecessary. There we go. I got sound in my headphones again. All right. So instead of de-escalating the situation, he arrives on scene, Officer Wills, and shot her 7 times within a minute. He spent, you know, the first minute screaming at her, put down the shovel, ma'am, are you, you know, didn't try to talk to her like a human being. Ma'am, are you okay? What's going on? You know, try to talk her down. If anything, he's escalating the situation, yelling at her, and as she turns away from him is when he chose to shoot her. So it's not that he was in any immediate danger. She didn't rush him. There was a safe distance of, I would say, at least, you know, 15, 20 feet. And it wasn't even like a full shovel. It was just the actual shovel. There was no handle, so it was just a metal shovel. So there's no way, I mean, even if she threw it, he could have moved out of the way. I mean, there was no threat.
These guys, I mean, they're fully covered. I mean, they have shorts, pants, they have vests.
Yeah, body armor.
Yeah. I just can't imagine that anyone would be afraid of a shovel. I find it, I question whether it's a case of where, damn, you know, we have to come out here every goddamn week to deal with this. I'm tired of coming out here and wasting my time. Let's take care of this once and for all. And that's the mentality. I'm not sure if that's what they were thinking, but you know, it sure seems that way to me when you have somebody with a shovel.
Yeah. And then when they unload the whole clip, it's clear that they don't want survivors. You know, if somebody were to survive an officer involved shooting, it's more costly for medical bills, for settlements and whatnot. So they're trained to unload the whole clip, and that's, you know, he fired 7 rounds into her, struck her 7 times, and just completely unnecessary. Something that could have been dealt with a taser. I mean, if you ask me, it could have been dealt with bare hands. But
listen, you know, you get a couple people with a sheet or a blanket,
right,
and wrap them. Listen, in mental health facilities, they often have combative residents. I worked in nursing homes where we had combative residents, and the nursing staff never once found it necessary to shoot one of the residents while they were having an episode. So, you know, I say it, and I'm going to say it again, there's a police war against the people. You know, every family that I know has somebody in their family that goes through a mental health crisis, or, you know, has an issue that sometimes, you know, escalates where you need more help than the family can offer. If the option is, you know, when you call for help, it ends up in murder or being shot, well, what are people supposed to do at this point? You put your loved ones at risk, you put your neighbors, anybody on the street at risk. Well, what options are left for the people to deal with these issues? You know, the people that's supposed to help are winding up, you know, shooting and, you know, creating much more damage.
Yeah, I wonder if the neighbors knew that this woman was going to be shot 7 times, would they have called the police? I doubt it.
No, we all, I mean, I talk about it all the time now. No matter what the issue, never call the pigs, because what happens is that they escalate the situation. Something that maybe the neighbors could take care of. And growing up, I grew up in the city, and it was very crowded, and occasionally we would have incidents like this, and you know, everybody kind of knows each other because it was a neighborhood, and we know families, and we know grandparents, and the parents, and the kids. the neighbors would come and take care of this themselves. You know, they would come and they either talk to the person or if they needed to, you know, hold the person or get a stick out of their hand or whatever. Never once did it ever have to escalate to pulling a weapon and shooting somebody. Which also goes, I mean, there's another thing about this. You know your neighbors, you know their behaviors. They're real people to you. You know it's your buddy's grandma. You know it's, you know, this guy's Aunt Jackie or whatever. So when you deal with them, you're dealing with them on a very personal level. When police officers roll in, there's no connection to the community, no connection to these people. They're just another problem that they need to solve as quickly and efficiently as possibly, and they use their gun to do it that way. So there is a police war against the people. They are not actively seeking to help us. They're here hurting us. Every incident that goes through, and we see every shooting of an unarmed person, or every time they claim that they felt that they're in fear, it's disheartening. So,
I mean, from the jump, when he got out of his police cruiser, from the body cam footage, you can see he's got his weapon drawn. He had ample time to, you know, pull out a taser, deploy a taser, or she wasn't going anywhere. I mean, he could have just waited it out until crisis intervention team got on scene. Also, in the press conference, they said that they were deploying, you know, the sergeant, his commanding officer. So he could have waited for backup. He could have waited for, you know, the higher ups to get there and help de-escalate the situation. But this rookie cop decided to take matters into his own hands, and luckily didn't take her life. But who, you know, her life is forever changed. She was shot 7 times, so right. Definitely overkill. Is a miracle that she survived. She's in serious but stable condition. And then they went on with their usual character assassination, trying, you know, so anybody who watches the press release will look at it and say, oh, well, thank God they got her off the streets, you know, when, I mean, it was minor, like she had a drug possession charge, she had, I don't know, some vandalism charge, like no serious offenses in her past, but yet they tried to label her as some career criminal, and aren't you glad that we took care of it? You know, that's what they do best. They do it every time there's an officer involved shooting. And then the guy who gave the press release went on to try to brag about, you know, their CIT crisis intervention team and this STAR protocol that they followed, and, you know, all these things that they have in place. But in talking about all that, he's failing to point out how none of that worked. The crisis intervention team didn't even make it there. The sergeant wasn't even there. This officer got there and shot her within a minute. So if anything, it just goes to show that everything that they are doing, this STAR protocol, this CIT team, the training, it's not working. I mean, it failed at every level. And from the training that this officer received in the academy, which he brought to the streets, it's obviously not working. If a 100-pound woman with a shovel handle
could cower, they cowered a police officer, an armed police officer who had, you know, a body armor vest on. Mm-hmm. Disgraceful and shameful.
And the whole time he's yelling at her, don't take another step towards me, and he's moving step closer, step closer, step closer. It's like, just maintain your distance. If she tries to take off running, you know, if anybody's in danger, then, you know, try to take her down with non-lethal force. You know, I don't know. I don't have any of this training. Thankfully, I don't have the training they have, because I probably would have killed somebody by now. But I mean, just from my inexperience, it's seemed completely unnecessary watching this video. Just, you know, Metro striking again.
Well, listen, I mean, I know some of the people watching or who are going to watch this later are going to say, well, you know, you're not a police officer. You weren't there. You don't know what was going through their mind, and you don't know the fear that was running. You're not a cop. You're not in the situation. How can you speak on this? And I say, well, you know, you're right. I don't have any of this training, and I don't have. I wasn't in that situation. However, I've seen videos from other countries where people who were posing much more of a threat were taken down with less than lethal force.
Yeah. Only in America can this woman be killed like this, and nobody even bat an eye.
Right. There's police officers in other nations that don't employ the same type of violence that's employed here.
Yeah, there's no way anywhere else this woman would have been shot 7 times. That's a fact.
So, you know, that's my answer when they bring this up. And, you know, if you need videos, write into the show and I'll have them sent to you. I mean, maybe we'll post them after. I'll go through and we can watch non-lethal force being employed.
I get that all the time too. Whenever I'm critical of police, people, you know, bootlickers will come to their defense and, well, you don't know what they have to go through on a daily basis. You don't know what training they receive. And that's like, oh, okay, so I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I'm not a cop. That's like, you know, if you watch the Golden Knights game and you're not allowed to say, well, he should have shot the goal instead of passed it. What do you know? You're not a hockey player. You know what I mean? So you're not allowed to have an opinion just because you're not an officer. It just logically makes no sense to me. But
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, people continue to use that all the time to come to the defense.
It's faulty logic. I mean,
yeah,
it really is faulty logic. There's certain standards that we expect from people, and especially people entrusted. Oh, there goes the picture right there. Oh, I'm right there listening. They just drove past in little pigmobiles. So the thing is, you know, when they're coming out and doing these things, there's certain standards that we expect from people who are trusted and have the authority by the state to use lethal force against us. I mean, that's one of the things. Cops are given guns, and they're given guns and then allowed to use them and are given special considerations. It doesn't mean that they should be using them at every chance they get. Every dog that barks at them, everybody that looks at them sideways, pulling your gun and using it to shoot it should be a last resort and not the go-to first reaction of every cop when we see these instances. I mean, you just saw on Mother's Day, Tasha Farmer Brown, a man in distress, went to the officers for help. It's what his mom told him to do. Hey, if you're ever in crisis, it's what a lot of us were when we were growing up, we're told to do. Hey, if you're ever have a problem and you need someone, look for a police officer because they're there to help. Not so anymore. I'm not even sure if it was that way then. Some of us who had more privilege, absolutely, we didn't worry. Certain neighborhoods, no, it's never been that way. So, you know, as we go through this, I mean, I hope people are starting to see and wake up and question. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of families have family members who have issues and problems. And, you know, you want to protect your family members as much, and sometimes it's more, and you need to call for outside help. But you know the police aren't the way to do it. Another state implemented a group that to come in and intervene so you don't have to call the police. These are, they're trained in mental health crisis. They're not police officers, so they're not armed. And they come in and help you with that situation. They give you an option. And perhaps that's something that more states and cities and towns and neighborhoods have to start looking at, is alternative methods to calling the police. I can't see any other solution to this problem. That the police have to be minimized when dealing with the public. They're, you know, they're like rabid dogs or wolves. I mean, you can't bring wolves in because they're, you know, they do what they do. They want to attack, and that's all they know.
And it seems like, especially recently, people have been calling the police for just about anything nowadays. I know there's been a few videos that have gone viral. One woman in California calling the police on people having a barbecue because they were using coal, and it's like and it's white people calling the police on black people.
Right, there's a racial component.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I definitely think there is.
And if you haven't watched, there's a local Las Vegas woman who jumped the shit of, I think the guy might have been Latino. He was a worker working on a house in the next street over. And she saw him driving through the street and started giving him a rash of shit. And, you can only take so much. And the guy was like, screw you or something. And her response was to start screaming, gun, gun, he has a gun, when clearly he didn't have a gun. He left his work site because the porta potties were full and he needed to use a restroom and was just looking for an alternative spot to relieve himself. And, she didn't like to have somebody that didn't look like her in their neighborhood. And actually put this gentleman's life in danger. Fortunately, he had a cell phone and recorded the incident. And I believe she actually had a firearm and brandished it. So, he went back to his work site. The police were called. The supervisor's like, hey, man, get back here. You have to, he brought him in, and they did call the police. And I believe that her gun was taken away, and she was cited. I'm not sure if she was taken in. But, when these things happen, it's usually, well, not usually, but I've seen it a fair number of times, that there is a racial component.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me very uneasy. This isn't, we're kind of getting to a point in our evolution where this stuff should start being minimized. How much more do we have to learn? Enough of us are around now that remember the 60s and 70s and all the struggles that went through. And yet there's still young people that hold these beliefs, crazy racial beliefs. And I'm always stunned.
Yeah, there was, the Starbucks incident where just because they were black and they hadn't ordered anything yet, they called the cops on them. So I think we posted that to the page, but we should also post.
Sorry to interrupt, but did you guys see this Starbucks incident this week?
With the Hispanic guy?
No, the white woman trying to go to the bathroom. She was just asking to use the bathroom, and they said you have to pay for something. She's like, I don't think you understand the emergency. And then they said, I don't think we care. You know what I'm saying? And the guy's stuck because he can't let them use the bathroom because they haven't bought anything. So an argument ensues, and she says, forget it. Then just shits right there.
Oh, wonderful. I'm all for that. Well, I think I mentioned this on the air before.
But what the point I'm trying to make, and real quick, Ron, the point I'm trying to make is that because of the way corporate America made you treat people, there's no compassion at all given to that woman. She was just seen as a vagrant who needed to use the bathroom.
Yeah, I've been there.
We all have.
People see me and they. Yeah, absolutely. We become robotic. We become drones of system where we could, turn our eyes away. We could go on and on. The woman that went into the emergency room, and because they didn't like her there, and she might have been what they consider a vagrant, though she was in the emergency room looking for medical help, dragged her out and threw her in the snow and let her lay there. And this was security guards at a hospital. People's inhumanity to people. I don't know where we've learned to cut off and not have that loving compassion for other living beings.
Yeah, there's like a dehumanization going on, and it's a superiority complex. Whether it's a white person that thinks they're better than black people, or it's a rich person who thinks they're better than a poor person, or just looking at homeless people like they aren't even human. It gets deep. I think nationalism comes into it too. Americans have that same superiority complex where America is the best, and every other country, fuck them.
Yeah.
If they want it, they can get it. We'll bomb the shit out of them. That type of superiority where you don't even look at the enemy or the other as a person.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely an illness.
But Vegas is a very different place also. I mean, the neighborhood is set up so neighbors don't get to know neighbors. Growing up, like I said, I knew our neighbors. My family knew our neighbors, we knew grandparents, and we knew generations. When somebody was hurting, you knew the situation, whether somebody lost their job or somebody was sick, the neighbors would just get together and provide what they needed to carry through. And God forbid you were in a similar situation, then you would be helped.
In the last neighborhood I lived in, we used technology instead of the police. We created a Facebook group, and everybody that lived in the neighborhood was in the group. And whenever there was an issue, I remember there was like a suspicious vehicle. Somebody thought somebody was using drugs in the vehicle, and then people would comment, okay, well, I'm going to head over there, and then the other person would come in, okay, I'll come with you, and then the people would go and have a conversation with this person. Hey, do you live here? And the guy was like, yeah, I live in this house right here. Oh, okay, well, there you go. Instead of calling the cops and they roll up guns drawn on this guy in the parked vehicle in front of his own house, you know what I mean?
Right.
Get out of the car. So there's the technology is your friend. Use it. Talk to people. Know who you're dealing with so that you can have compassion and you can deal with these situations the right way, because police don't always do that. So, yeah, I think it's up to communities to set up kind of like a neighborhood watch type of thing. We need to create even groups that just render the police obsolete to where you don't even need to engage.
Yeah, when you make the police obsolete, then we win as a nation. We win as a people. It's difficult. I mean, I'm a hot and cold. They're trying to set up a neighborhood watch in my community. The people that do it are such that they lack compassion. The reason they're setting up is the sole purpose is to drive the homeless people from the area, because they consider them an eyesore. It's not that they're people in need and they have compassion. It's that they don't want to be bothered with the homeless issue. They get offended that they have to, cast their eyes upon something that offends them.
Yeah, it's like that guy that came out to Circle Park the other day. We were feeding at Circle Park, and the gentleman who claimed to be a resident of one of the neighborhoods came up to us and basically berated us, saying, you guys are the problem. There's all these homeless people here because you feed here in the park. And it's like, no, they're not here because we feed here. We feed here because they're here. And he's stuck in this mentality like, it's not capitalism that's to blame. It's not elected officials or the economy. It's food not bombs. You are the problem. Homeless people are the problem. And he just went off, and he's like, we have to live here, we have to deal with this. And I'm like, dude, 3 of the people feeding here right now, the lady who cooks the food, live in this neighborhood right next to the park.
Right,
So,
I mean, we are residents.
Yeah,
we are residents. We're taking care of our community.
Exactly, not everyone is as heartless as you. There are residents of these neighborhoods that don't believe like you do, that have a heart and feel for these people's struggle, and instead of trying to cast them off or look at them as, look down on them, they're trying to help. And, he tried to say, oh, it's unsafe. My wife can't bring the kids here. I'm like, that's my wife right over there with my son playing at the playground every Monday.
I have a young child also, and I brought my child and other people that share and help have children and bring them constantly. I mean, seriously, I mean, to the people that are opposed to what we do and opposed to food not bombs, I mean, my response is, if food not bombs is wrong, I don't want to be right. Yeah. And I think we could create a song at some point about that. So, there's a lot of selfishness. There's, if they had legitimate complaints and issues, and they were willing to deal with them in a respectful, compassionate way, I would be more open to dialogue. Mm-hmm. But when they come and talk that the way they do, the language that they use, is not conducive to building bridges.
Yeah.
You know, and that becomes a problem. I'm not going to deal with you. And to be honest with you, I shut down when I start hearing nonsense. You know, when your sole concern is you and you alone, I don't have time for you, buddy. And I shouldn't. I mean, you're taking care of yourself all right already, so you don't need my help. And I don't need to listen to you since you seem that, you know, they think they have the answers to make their life better and to, you know, to have them over others.
Yeah, I saw another nonprofit went out to Circle Park and distributed water, and then there's residents complaining, oh, look at all these water bottles that were left.
Yeah,
So
that was wonderful.
it's like, what's worse, somebody who can't drink, you know, has nothing to drink, or some trash that's going to be picked up? You know what I mean? And it's like they always choose to see the negative and don't even want to give any thought to
No, I loved it.
being done.
I loved it. I mean, I have issues with some of these other nonprofits. The nonprofit that came, of course, called the police. The more team were there, so there was a huge police presence. They brought this big canteen truck and took up numerous spots, and I complained about spots. I'm like, hey, where am I supposed to park too? And they weren't serving food, just water, so I didn't understand the need to take up 4 or 5 spots. You know, and I mentioned, I said, you know, when you bring the police here and you create this atmosphere, the people in the neighborhood think that there's a problem.
Yeah, they think it's unsafe when they see all these police deployed to the park. They're like, I don't want to go there. Look, the police are constantly here.
Right, and the people who were in that organization, you know, told me how wrong I was, and you know, and I said, no, I've been around for a while doing this here, and sure enough, on the Next Door Neighbor app, which is, you know, your neighborhood group, they had pictures, and somebody went as far as to put the metal poles with orange stickers on it for every bottle that this organization went, that got permission from the police, came down with the police presence, left there. They were so angry at the city council people because my neighbors who are resistant to what we do, you know, bombard the city council members and push them to enact laws and rules and try to shut down what we do. So having the city actually come and do something similar set our neighbors off, the intolerant neighbors, the bigoted neighbors that we have. So I was in my glory. I'm like, these guys, you know, you're screaming and begging these guys, and you're telling me that the councilmen are going to come and they'll fix you and they'll take care of this, and you guys are going to be in trouble. And when they turn around and do the same thing, it really takes the wind out of their sails. And I love it. I mean, I had nothing to do with it, and just to watch karma come around and play out is a good feeling. So
All I know is we pick up after every time we do a feeding. You know,
and so do the folks.
of course.
You know, and that's what they think. I mean, they don't think. I mean, I don't know what they think, so I'm not going to speak to them. But they always complain about messes. The people we share food with understand that, you know, we're there. We need to keep and take care of our space. It's a community space. They're using a community space. They're part of the community. Nobody likes a mess. So they do pick up after themselves. And there is a certain number of people, whether they're disabled or not capable of picking up. The guy next to them picks up their stuff.
Because, I mean, nobody spends more time at the park than they do. So
Right.
they do a good job of keeping clean, I think, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and they don't want issues. They don't want more problems. They don't want confrontation. So they do their best to, you know, minimize it as well. Now, unfortunately, you know, I've seen a number of times the neighbors, the people that live in the neighborhood, aren't as conscientious. And of course, you know, like anything that goes on, any sort of mess is automatically blamed. And I've witnessed it myself, neighbors coming, walking their dogs and not cleaning up. And of course, you know, they blame it on the people in the park instead of the neighbors too lazy to use the doggy bags. So, I mean, I was there, and it's funny, and it is privilege. Our park closes at 5, which is one of the only parks I think in Vegas that closes at 5. And they do a police sweep. And the police sweep is only for specific people. And it's for people that they deem to be homeless. So one day, me and another guy, we sat there. And 5 o'clock rolls around, the police come and sweep. But they don't sweep me and my buddy. And the park is closed. If anybody homeless comes in, they'll ticket them. And then we watch the neighbors start rolling in after 5 after the park is closed. They bring their children, they stroll. So, there's definitely selective enforcement in what they do. And there's a concerted effort, to target the homeless community there.
Yeah, every time I go to that park, I see either it's a city marshal or Metro has somebody stopped and they're harassing them for God knows what. I know one guy had like a can opener on his keys, and got cited for that. Just anything and everything. So they want to get them on any charge that they can, because they know that half the time they won't make it to court, and then they end up in a warrant, and it just escalates from there. They want to build a case history, so that when something happens down the line, they can say, look, this is a hardened career criminal. We need to lock them up for good. And it's sad watching how police try to arrest their way out of homelessness. That's not a solution. That's not ever going to work. So people need to, when thinking about solutions, start from a place of love and compassion, and realize that most Americans don't even have $1,000 in their bank account for an emergency, an unexpected emergency. You're one hospital bill, one bad day at work away from being homeless. So
yeah,
that could be anybody. I mean,
absolutely. I tell my neighbors this all the time, man. You're one paycheck away from me sharing food with you at our picnics. Mm-hmm. So you really have to think about these things. We discuss this stuff all the time. I mean, one of my theories is that the people always have fear, and it's the fear that drives their hatred. The homelessness, they see it, they know that they're close to it, and it's so. I mean, there's a stigma attached to it, and the way they process it is to hate and fear, because they can see themselves in the situation. Mm-hmm. I am by no means a psychologist or a doctor, though I play one on the show. But I like to hear different theories. I mean, and it might not be just one theory. There may be a whole litany of things that bring people to this place where they stop or they lack compassion, that they harden their hearts so much to the suffering of others. And we really do need to find solutions to start breaking that down. I mean, geez, I can list off tons of things that I've always been, I've been shocked. When we had the refugees from Syria and the children coming in, that people actually complained about saving lives there. And you're like, saving lives. I mean, people have the right to exist. We're not taking anything from you by inviting these people in and giving them sanctuary. They have kids. Oh, look, big patrol. We're going to put a light up, so every time they drive past, a little, or oinking sound.
We need a soundboard here.
Yeah, oink, quick, quick, and oink sound. Is that something that we could put in there? Oink, oink, oink. So, like I'm saying, yeah, they must be listening to the show. It's got to be. They love their fans. They don't like to admit it, but they know they love our show.
The way I see homelessness, it's a lot like police brutality. They're both systemic issues. Think about advertising. It's built on envy. right? Like you'll see a commercial of somebody in a fancy car, or the way that celebrities get their reality TV shows, and everybody wants to be rich, and everybody wants to be famous, and everybody wants that car, the new phone. It's built on envy, right? Capitalism is built on envy. So when you see somebody who has nothing, you think you're better than them. And then when you see somebody who has more than you, you strive to be like that person. You feel like you're not good enough until you're at that level, right? So it's like this class system. It's goes back to superiority. It's looking down on them, looking up to others, and not believing in yourself, basically. So it's a systemic thing. I don't think that capitalism is solely to blame for homelessness. I mean, homelessness can happen in any kind of economic system, right? There's some that argue that capitalism has done the most for the poor of the world than any other system. Who knows, right? I'm not an economist, but
no, you can't play one on the show. I mean, you can.
Well, from my economic perspective, my analyses would lead me to determine that envy is the cause of the problem. Now, yeah, it just makes sense when you think about it like that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're all victims of capitalism. We're all victims of advertising. I grew up with TV. TV used to be the great babysitter, and it's still going. Somebody once told me that, how do you decide on like what are our needs, and what are luxuries? And they said, well, you know what? They never really advertise needs in commercials. It's always luxury. So if you see something advertised, it's more than likely something that's not necessary for you to survive. It's just,
that's what advertising is. It's creating a demand for something that there normally wouldn't be a demand for, right?
Right. You don't need it. It's not necessary for life. And, and like I said, they spend billions to convince people to do and hurt themselves. I mean, they convince them, I don't know if you believe, but I believe, things like soda, the Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, different food items that are not good for people that they push. McDonald's, they spend billions in advertising and encourage people to eat this and convince them that it's necessary while destroying people.
And not just destroying people, but this advertising and creating consumption, just for the sake of selling more and stimulating the economy, this, growth for the sake of growth. It's not only hurting people, but it's hurting the environment, right?
Right, that's very
When
true.
you are ditching a perfectly fine cell phone for the newer model, you're creating unneeded waste, you're using unneeded resources. Instead of fixing something that's an easy fix, you'd rather go out and just buy a new one, because advertising convinced you that that's the right idea to do, or you don't want to be seen with some raggedy old thing that was fixed. You'd rather have some shiny new thing, and it just creates waste.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit older. This is relatively new. When I was growing up, people repaired TVs. You repaired your radios. One of the, having something that lasted was a thing of pride. And we would use that, and be like, damn, I've had this saw 10 years and it's still going. I don't need to get another one because the product is a wonderful product and it served me well. Your car, you didn't go out and get a new car every year. You're like, man, I have 200,000 miles on this engine. This is one of the greatest buys I ever had.
That reminds me of the trend of holes in jeans. It's like, look how long I've had these jeans for. I've got a hole and I still wear them. And now it's like you get a new pair of jeans, and if it gets a hole, you throw it away to go buy a new pair of jeans that came with a hole in it. Just because that's what the newest supermodel was wearing or something.
Yeah, we've been fooled, and like I said, and the people who disagree with us, you're victims as well. I mean, we're all victims in this. Some of us, they say, they use the term awoke, or you've been awakened to seeing things in a different light. And not everybody out there has seen this or realized that they're being played. They're being manipulated by a system that sees them as a resource, as a way of generating money at their expense, at the expense of the earth, at the expense of humanity, other nations. They convinced them it's a road to destruction. It really is a road to destruction. The earth can only sustain so much damage, and we're the ones that control that. We can make choices. We can determine whether we want these things to change. People at the top making money off it. There's climate change deniers. These guys, if things change, they would lose money. Though anybody who's a little bit older, I mean, we've seen the changes. We know the changes aren't good.
I mean, whether you believe in climate change or you think the climate's always been changing and always going to change, I think you're missing the big picture. You're arguing about something that doesn't matter. You need to look at pollution. Humans are polluting the planet, right? We are creating enormous amounts of waste. Whether you think that is linked to temperatures in the ocean or temperatures in general, or increased hurricanes or whatever, none of that's important. You need to realize that we are creating this waste. There is this pollution, and that it's only getting worse as the population grows. And we need to come up with better solutions to, better alternatives, solutions to deal with the damage already done, more renewables, and that also brings me to when people talk about how pissed off they get about welfare, people on welfare, they don't realize that oil companies are the biggest receivers of welfare, right? Corporate subsidies. Most of our money, tax dollars, goes towards war, goes towards funding companies. Like a small fraction of your tax dollars goes to Bob and Susie so that they can buy diapers for their kid.
Yeah,
that's what everybody talks about, and that's what everybody gets pissed off about. So it's like they're only outraged with what the news wants them to be outraged with. They're only talking about what celebrities and this and sports teams. I mean, it's just sad listening to conversations that people are having.
It's bread and
nowadays.
Circuses. The government does bread and circuses. It keeps people spun. You offer them 99-cent cheeseburgers at McDonald's and America's Got Talent, and keeps them distracted from looking what's happening around them. They listen. When I was growing up, well, one parent could work and support a household, while the other parent would be able to stay home and take care of the kids and have extra time to think. Thinking is very dangerous. So how do you stop people from thinking? Well, you create a system where now both parents have to work, and sometimes they have to work multiple jobs, and when they come home, they're exhausted. They're exhausted. They don't have time to worry about anything else other than just like getting up the next day and dragging us into work, so they could afford their apartment and food on the table, and they make sure that there's never enough margin there that that they feel comfortable. So God forbid, they make it difficult even to call in sick at work. God forbid. I've known when they were downsizing in the casino industry, and they were laying people off because they claimed that the tourists weren't coming in, or whatever their excuse was at the time. We're letting people go, and of course everybody would have to pick up the slack who wasn't there. And if you said, well, geez, I had 4 guys I was working with, now we're down to 3. I'm doing more work. Maybe we should get paid more. They said, well, if you don't like that, that 4th guy we just let go, I guarantee you he'd like his job back, and you could be the one that leaves. And it's that kind of attitude, that keeps us trapped in that, the cage and the wheel. They call it a rat race for a reason. Things I think like I said, more people are becoming awoke. I think, the more people who see what's happening, and and as we empower people and to have a voice again, we can make changes. I mean, I don't think it's a lost cause. If I thought it was a lost cause, I wouldn't even be doing this, because it wouldn't make a difference. I truly think we can make a difference.
Yeah, the people have the power whether they realize it or not. Perfect example of that, I'm in the culinary union, and today we're voting on whether or not we're going to strike. Because we have a union, because we're unionized, we already make some of the best wages that cooks in the nation, are paid. So we're paid great, we get great benefits, all things that we wouldn't have if we didn't have a union. But some of the points that you brought up earlier, people are still living paycheck to paycheck. I still live paycheck to paycheck. Rent's increasing, gas is increasing. All the necessities of life are increasing. Water, food, spending more in the grocery store, especially if you want to eat healthy. If you want to buy organic, it's outrageous, right? So people are still struggling to get their basic needs. I mean, if you want a new TV, you can get one from China for dirt cheap now. Like, consumer goods are cheap, right? But all the necessities of life are going up. Meanwhile, the CEOs Caesar's got like millions, tens of millions of dollars tax break from Trump's new tax plan. The CEOs are cutting themselves multi-million-dollar bonuses, and wages have been stagnant. So what the union's been fighting for the culinary is $1 for everybody each year for the next 5 years, and Caesars didn't even want to do that. So if you're getting multi-million-dollar tax breaks, some of that should trickle down to the employees, especially when we're living paycheck to paycheck. What I make in a year, the CEO would make in less than a week. So it's that you got to pay attention to the gap. The wealth inequality in America is some of the worst.
I'm sorry, I have to cut you off, man. I'm sick of you guys whining and crying all the time. I want $1 more. I want all the fucking CEOs. I mean, when you take that extra $1, you're preventing him from getting his new jet. Don't you ever consider the needs of your bosses and the CEOs?
I know.
Do you know what it's like, to go into your, the golf courses and have the people look down your nose? Oh, is that last year's Rolls Royce?
Yeah.
Oh, and snicker. I mean, that it keeps them up at night.
Yeah,
I'm just horrified by the greed and sensitivity that the worker has for these wonderful people that provide you with these jobs. Don't you ever consider them?
I'm going to vote not to strike.
Yeah, I'm saying that don't you ever consider their needs? Their needs. I mean, there's new jets every year. There's vacations that they need to take. Rolls Royces don't come cheap. If you guys aren't out there pumping out and making them more money, what the hell are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to, get back and forth in comfort?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just horrifying. And that's what I always talk about. It's like, nobody has compassion. Let's have compassion for the little guy. Well, where is the compassion for the big guy? The rich and the famous. They have needs also. You don't think that they, aren't like rolling around, on their, silk sheets, rolling in their money, like sweating, whether, they're going to be able to, go to the next big opening or I mean, come on, jeez.
I actually have a real question.
Mm.
So you're talking about the wage gap, which is an absolutely real thing, but where is the level of personal responsibility and libertarianism come into where that you are in a place where you can work pretty far up the ladder if you just figure it out.
Mm.
So where is the balance between fiscal personal responsibility and the responsibility of the employer to be a good human and pays the wages correctly?
So I think it's reflected in what you just said, the wealth inequality gap growing, and also the decline in social mobility. So America has, you hear about this American dream, but it's a dream because you got to be asleep to see it, right? It's a dream, literally, because the wealth is at the top, right? And you can't pull yourself up from the bootstraps. Sure, people do. I mean, but it's a smaller and smaller amount of people each year. It gets less and less people are able to do that. And we have, in the developed world, America is one of the worst for social mobility. So we tout this American dream, but here we are falling behind all these other countries in things like education, social mobility, our health. So I mean, I have some libertarian beliefs. I don't think that the government should come in and force companies to pay employees a certain wage, like a mandatory minimum or whatever. But I think that it is, if the employees are working full time and can't live off of that, then I think it's the duty of the employees to come together and either unionize and demand higher wages.
Right.
And that's how you get it done, because they can't survive without you.
Well,
So,
I mean, if you look at Walmart, and I worked for Walmart, the people that they hire, they set at very low wages. Walmart gets a ton of government subsidies. So the government pays, and because they pay their employees so little and don't offer health care, the truth of the matter is, that's one of their lines. We offer health care. Absolutely. They'll take a portion out of your check, which is small to begin with. So, yeah, I have health care. Too bad I can't afford rent. Or too bad I can't afford to feed my kids. But I have health. So it's not really an option. So the government is giving subsidies. Walmart gets off the hook from paying medical care because the people will use, government medical. So the rich people at Walmart, at the top, the CEOs, the Walton family, is getting richer and richer, and it comes back because taxes come, which, when the employees buy things, I mean, we all pay our taxes, and it comes out of their wages. It's a really sick system that just penalizes the worker again and again, while the rich take care of the rich and make sure that they're taken care of.
with Walmart, it's a double whammy, because not only are they getting corporate subsidies, but then their employees make so little that they're also getting government benefits.
Right.
So it's 2 times that the taxpayers are having to help out Walmart with corporate subsidies, and help out Walmart's employees with
the employees, the poorest people, when they pay their taxes, are paying for Walmart and the Walton family. When their employees are Walmart, and the company doesn't take care of their workers. The workers are supporting these rich guys.
who isn't unionized, by the way. So
Right.
we probably wouldn't be talking about this if they were unionized.
No,
Has Walmart tried to unionize? I think they did, right?
I think in
They shut
Canada,
it down.
Yeah.
but Canada, I think they unionized. I know I opened the first supercenter here. And it was, I mean, the supercenter is the big one that has both groceries and other goods.
How dare you?
Right? Oh man, I can tell you stories. We had a meat cutting room. So I don't know if anybody knows. I mean, we had band saws so they could bring inside the beef and they would cut everything. Because of the meat cutters union said, you know what? Guys who work in meat cutting union, they mothballed it. Brand new cutting room. It's a big refrigerated room. We had big glass windows so you could watch. If you ever been to Costco, you see those guys in there cutting steaks or whatever they're doing. When the union balked and said we got to be unionized, they went, wrapped all the machinery up, and just started buying pre-cut stuff from another vendor, just to make sure that there would be no stench of union within. I was in lower level management. I went to secret meetings on union busting, where the guy flew in on a helicopter, and it was big hush hush. You can't tell anybody, and we'd all meet, and then we all went up to a hotel here in Vegas, and they flew a guy in who was at one time, he was a top union guy, and then he flipped sides to teach us how to bust unions, how to dissuade our workers from wanting to join a union. What's the right verbiage? What's the right words to say? How do you convince them? So, they are really part of the evil empire. One day we could go into stories. I think there's some websites out there. I think one is like I Hate Walmart or Walmart Workers, and you can follow story after story of this And I know a lot of other businesses have this. So,
I mean, unions have their flaws. I'm not, 100% full supporter of everything that the culinary union does, or other unions. I disagree with a lot of other unions and what they do. But there is that power in the people, and I think that you do need to unionize if you want to,
right.
get what you deserve. So if you are in the culinary union, you're watching this, I encourage you to go out to Thomas and Mack tonight. If you didn't this morning, go tonight, 5 to 6 o'clock, and vote. I mean, whether it's voting to strike or voting not to strike, the company's going to see all these people at Thomas and Mack, and when they see all, the Thomas and Mack packed full of workers, that's going to scare them, and they're going to realize, look, these guys mean business. We need to negotiate. We need to compromise. If nobody's there, even if you're going to vote not to strike, if that place is empty, the company's going to see that, and we're going to lose any bargaining power that we think we have, right? So it's important to get out there no matter how you feel about the union or whether you agree with striking or not. Get out there and vote, man, and just let the company know that the workers are paying attention and that, we're playing hardball. So we need to get what we want, right?
Look at, the bosses and the CEOs, they're leeches off the workers. You guys are actually doing the work. You're there every day earning every dollar they have.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything. There's no risk. I worked in kitchens. They don't go home with burns on their arms and sore feet, or cuts, or stress. They sit and just collect the money from your sweat. Solidarity. You stand together. You can make a difference. You can make that change. You can force them to help your brothers out, your brothers and sisters in the union.
Exactly. Even if you don't agree with why they want to strike this time, if the majority votes to strike, then you need to stand in solidarity with your fellow coworkers and strike. Because next time, it might be something you think is worth striking over, and others will think it's not strike worthy, and then they won't stand with you, right? So we need to stand together regardless of what our individual beliefs are, and just show them the power of the people.
Yeah, and I mean, there's, I just found out what some of the issues were, man, and, one of the issues they're fighting for is they want housekeepers to have panic buttons, on their uniforms.
Yeah, security is a big thing they're pushing.
I don't know how many people out there have worked in hotels or, these people go up and they enter rooms. You don't know who's in those rooms or what the situation is going to be. Such a small thing, it can be a dangerous situation. To offer somebody a panic button, so if there is a situation that they can get help immediately. And these are the people that you work with every day. If you're in a hotel, casino, these are the people that you go to the EDR with. These are the people that you see on the bus stop or have coffee with. And these are your fellow workers. Why would you want everything that can keep them safe? And it's such a small thing.
And this is the first contract negotiations since 1 October. So the main highlight are security issues, and that panic button being one of them for the housekeepers. I think the other thing was the do not disturb signs. Paddock's room went unclean for a few days, and he's amassing an arsenal of weapons. Sure, that might have been just an isolated incident. Maybe it'll never happen again, but it's a concern of workers. So we can't just ignore safety when it comes to workers. And you would think that these types of measures the company would see this as in their best interest, right?
But they would initiate them. I mean, they shouldn't be asked.
Protect them from lawsuits.
Yeah, you think that'd be like, damn, our people, the guys who make us the money, the guys who make our profits, the face of our company, need something to help them do their job better and to keep them safer. Mm-hmm. They should be asking you, hey, you guys really need to wear this button.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it's funny that people have to ask for that. But then again, like I said, the top never looks, they don't see the issues of the worker. They're not there. It's hard to see what's happening on the ground level when you're too busy, you know, in a big office, sitting there counting your profits and pleasing your shareholders. So, I don't know. Unions are a wonderful thing. IWW is a wonderful idea. There's IWW coming. There's in other states and Vegas. There will be IWW for people to come and to learn about the strength of the worker, the strength of every man and every woman, every person to come in and take control of their labor. We sell our labor every time we do something to people that make profit off us, and we don't get a fair return. So it's important that we understand that. You know, I think maybe we should do an IWW show at some point. Let the people know.
Yeah.
I mean, how are we on time?
You're at 1 hour right now, even.
We got an hour left.
If you want, yeah, 25 more bucks.
There we go. Big capitalism. I don't know.
I still got to eat lunch.
Trade blood.
I'll take that too.
All right, guys.
There's a
Thanks
small
for
thing.
tuning in. I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely get out to the strike boat if you are in the culinary unit. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, what a fucked up show, huh? Wasn't what you expected. Wasn't our regular stuff, was it? Bam. If you like what you see, man, let us know. Write in, tell us shit you want to hear about. Let us know. We can tailor the shows. We have that flexibility. And thank you for watching.